Hey guys, what's going on? We're back. I'm Shane.
I'm James.
And today we're doing a special video. What are we doing?
Something a little different than what they've seen on the channel so far. We are doing a Kobe Bryant memorial video. As most of you know, we're coming up on the 1 year anniversary of Kobe's death, January 26, 2020.
Yeah.
Which was a pretty shocking day for Shane and I. Y'all know Shane is a huge basketball fan, and I am as well.
Yeah. Which is interesting because you still haven't seen The Last Dance.
I still haven't seen The Last Dance, yes.
Or you may have seen the first episode or whatever.
I might have seen part of it. I think I did.
We got to go through that.
We're going to definitely go through that because I hear that's amazing.
Yeah.
But, so this is going to be a little different, but I think Shane and I both agree Kobe was so important to both of us that we couldn't let the anniversary of his death go by without doing a little video on it and just talking about Kobe's life, his basketball career, and just remembering how special he was to Shane and I and millions of people all over the world. Yeah.
So, first of all, where were you when he died last year?
Yeah, so at the time, I was at home, in bed, I was asleep. Yeah. And my ex-wife woke me up. And she said, hey, I just got a text from my dad that Kobe Bryant died. And, of course, I went from being stone cold asleep, deep asleep, to wide awake instantly. So I bounced up, I grabbed my phone, and I got online. And at first, the information was kind of murky. It was coming out.
It was reported that there's there's another NBA star that's supposedly
Rick Fox.
Rick Fox,
who some of you guys might know Rick Fox from his acting career. I don't know what he's in, but he's in.
Well, he played in Holes.
Yeah, he played.
And he played at.
He plays in something else now too.
No, what's that with Jesus Shuttlesworth? He Got Game.
Yeah, he got game.
He played an ad. He's a recruiter for Jesus. Yeah, and Ray Allen.
He's actually in a pretty kind of a big show now. I think it's called Greenleaf. But so he's had a post NBA career in acting. So it was rumored at first he was on the helicopter. Then it was kind of bouncing back and forth that maybe Kobe wasn't on it. So my emotions were all over the place, and eventually, within an hour or two, we got confirmation that Kobe was on the helicopter. It crashed, but there were still rumors going around that all 4 of his daughters were on there. I don't know if you remember hearing that rumor at first.
I didn't hear that rumor. No.
Yeah. So and actually, there was a tweet by a news guy on Twitter that he's getting word that all 4 of Kobe's daughters were actually on the helicopter. So that started going across the social media world, and everybody was freaking out like, oh my God, I can't believe this. Kobe and his 4 daughters, how terrible. Yeah. Not thankfully, but eventually we find out that it was just Kobe and his daughter Gianna, who passed away.
And multiple other people.
There was multiple other people that lost their lives as well. A couple, I think at least 1 or 2 other girls
from their academy, Mamba Academy.
Yeah, Mamba Academy. There was either another coach or something. So just a lot of lives other than Kobe and Gianna that were lost, and we definitely send our prayers out to their family as well. Gianna was just 13 years old, and from what everybody said, she was kind of like her dad, kind of a basketball prodigy. Yeah, very bright, smart girl, had that killer instinct, that intensity that Kobe was known for. So so that was a brutal day. I tell you what, when we got confirmation that it was indeed Kobe passed away, I spent the next day in tears. I mean, I was just heartbroken. Kobe means and means a lot to me. I'll be honest, because when I was a huge Michael Jordan fan, still am a huge Michael Jordan fan. Yeah. After Michael retired, I kind of didn't know retired the second time. Yeah. In the late 90s. I didn't know where the NBA was going to go, where I was going to go.
Well, they really built the league around him.
Yeah, they built the league around Michael, and I didn't know where my passion was going to come from for the NBA. I was always a kind of a Shaq fan too, right? Yeah. So I was interested in Shaquille, but still not that unbelievable passion that I had for Michael, and followed the NBA every single move. And then Kobe came along.
Yeah, Kobe, you really feel like, because he had a chip on his shoulder.
Yeah.
So, but before we get into that, so I was traveling, and I was I just got off a flight, and I was in Philly.
Right.
And then right when, because you're supposed to put on airplane mode, no one does it.
yeah, absolutely.
And then, while we landed, I started getting these texts. I got one from Gus and a bunch of, a couple friends I haven't talked to, from high school. I haven't talked to in, a year.
Right.
And in one case, there's a guy I haven't talked to in, a couple years.
But, he reached out to you, yeah.
And in you,
yeah.
Just bam, 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 dude, Kobe died. Kobe crashed.
I kind of remember being on the phone crying with you.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Well, I remember I went, oh my God.
Yeah.
And then some guy next to me looked at me. I said, Kobe's dad. He said, I know. And and then someone was behind me was like, what?
Yeah.
And on the plane, it was these strangers. We had this moment of grief. But I remember I got off at the airport, and right when I got to the terminal, because you're supposed to keep walking. I don't know how much you've flown.
I've flown quite a few times.
You're supposed to keep walking, and you got to go, and you can't pass this line. But I was standing there. You're not supposed to have your phone on,
right?
And I was just standing there, and some guys like, "You got to go."
Yeah.
My dude Kobe died. And then I remember sitting in one of those crappy ass massage chairs.
Yeah.
Just looking at my phone.
Yeah. And
I just couldn't believe it.
Yeah, and when you're in the plane, you got to keep it together. I was in my bedroom at my own house.
Yeah, I started crying in this in this hallway.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's pretty shocking. At least I was in my own home where I could process it and.
Well, I landed in Philly, which is his hometown.
Yeah, absolutely.
So and that was really interesting too. I remember I was thinking about that. I mean, there wasn't I was in this cafe and people were talking about it.
Right. Yeah.
And then strangers were just hey, I'm from LA.
Yeah.
This is terrible.
Absolutely.
It was crazy. I'll never forget it.
It was one of those deaths that was.
You felt like you knew him.
Yeah, you felt like you knew him. But it was similar in some ways to the magnitude of it, to an Elvis, like a Tupac.
Yeah.
Who else could we throw out there?
Maybe Marilyn Monroe at the time.
Yeah, Marilyn Monroe at the time. So it was pretty epic, and I remember throughout that day I was very emotional. My daughters, they really didn't know much about Kobe, so it gave me an opportunity to tell them about Kobe. And my oldest, she was crying just over the sheer fact I was so upset, but I was explaining to her kind of how he was, like the Elvis, like the Marilyn Monroe, like the Tupac, just his importance, right, in the NBA. And
what he's done for the game of basketball.
Yeah.
And we'll get into this as we talk, but the career, his motivation, the Mamba mentality, he took that into his post NBA career.
Absolutely.
It's just hard to think about.
Yeah, still to this day. We're a year later, and it's still it's hard for me to fathom. It's hard for me to process. It's hard for me to, quite honestly, watch YouTube videos of his games, and it's just still really emotional. Yeah. So radio, talk show, and podcast host Colin Cowherd, you ever watch him? Yeah, absolutely.
He had this really great, I don't say speech, but this great talk about him, just how we watched him grow up.
Yeah.
He was 17 when he got drafted, 18 when he played his first game, the youngest NBA player to start. The youngest player to ever start. Okay. He still is that now. Okay. And he's one of the youngest players ever to play. Right. He was drafted when he was 17. So Andrew Bynum, the youngest, he was only six days after his 18th birthday, which is pretty impressive. But I don't know what he's doing right now, Andrew Bynum. I haven't heard from him in a while. But it's interesting you mentioned Kobe's childhood. He was 17 years old. A lot of you guys might not know that his dad played in the NBA. Then what's his dad's name again? It was Jelly Bean Bryant. Jelly Bean Bryant. But that's not his real name. That's not his real name. I forget his real name, but that was his nickname. But Kobe's middle name is Bean. Kobe Bean. Yeah, Kobe Bean. So Kobe came from a basketball pedigree. His dad wasn't a superstar. He played a few years in the NBA, and then he went over to Italy. Yeah, and played overseas. And Kobe went with him. Yeah, so Kobe spent a lot of time in Italy as a child, and until I think he was 11. Yeah, something like that. Yeah, and he speaks fluent Italian. Yeah, which is interesting. Absolutely. When he was over there, he talked about how he kind of dominated. When he was 2 years old, he said he could dribble. He claimed during a TED Talks that he did in Asia that he can dribble basketball. Wow. And he noticed when he was like 4 or 5 that he just learned that, okay, other kids can't drill with their left hand.
Right.
I can't either, but I'm going to steal from them.
Yes.
So he started thinking about the game that way at that early age.
Absolutely.
He used to watch the games with his dad, go to, and break them down, watch his dad play. And obviously he had a passion for soccer. He played that as well. Yeah, but then he came over to the U.S., and then his first, his first league that he was in was a summer league.
Mm-hmm.
He was in the league, and he used to dominate these kids in Italy because he was a lot bigger and taller.
Absolutely.
He came over here, he didn't score 1 point the whole year, not even a foul shot.
Wow.
Yeah, and he said
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, he said it was heartbreaking.
Right.
But then he just really started working on his game.
Right.
And we can get to that later, his mentality.
Absolutely.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, so Kobe, after spending time in Italy, he came over to the United States. Shane just told us, which I didn't know, that he struggled a little bit, but he ended up being one of the best high school players to ever play.
He used to challenge his teammates. Do you know about this?
Was that where they play 1-on-1 to 100?
Yeah. He used to make them play.
Yeah, play 1-on-1 to 100, and I think the worst game he ever had was he won 100-12.
100-12.
Yeah, 100-12. So he dominated them. Everybody. He won the National Player of the Year in high school, multiple awards for National Player of the Year.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the most impressive things for me in 1995 or so when I first heard of Kobe was because I heard about his basketball game when I was probably a freshman or sophomore in high school. But the most impressive thing at that time about Kobe Bryant was that he took Brandy to his high school prom. Do you remember who Brandy is?
Yeah.
Yeah, she was an R&B singer.
Yeah, gorgeous.
I had a huge crush on Brandy.
You had a poster on your wall.
I had a poster
right by the
wall.
light switch.
Yeah, right by the light switch.
Right next to the tiger, the Taifu.
Yeah.
The Taifu.
Taifu Ninja dude. Yeah. Tiger dude. Yeah.
It's a good PlayStation game. Look it up.
So when that happened, I was blown away, man. I was like, wow, this Kobe Bryant. So I got to find out more information about Kobe Bryant. So that's when I really started looking into Kobe Bryant and seeing, how amazing he was, how great he was, and then of course he decided to declare for the NBA draft. You know what I mean?
And a lot of people see one thing that drove him. He talked about this in his TED Talks in Asia as well. Was everyone thought it was a mistake and he shouldn't go.
Right.
He should go because he was thinking about going to college, and if he would have went to college, he said he would have went to Duke.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, to play for Coach K.
Wow, that'd have been incredible. And that makes sense for Kobe because he was extremely intelligent, just very.
He was intelligent and they had a good program.
And Duke's known for very intelligent basketball players.
Yep.
And good education system, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, one of my favorite players of all time, my current NBA player now, is J.J. Redick.
J.J. Redick, yeah.
And of course, one of my favorite analysts, Jay Williams, went to Duke as well.
Absolutely.
Played with the Chicago Bulls.
Both geniuses.
His career was ended by a motorcycle accident. I remember that.
I do remember that. Yeah, I do remember that. He was going to be a very good basketball player, NBA player. But so Kobe ends up getting drafted. I think he was 17 when he got drafted, right?
Yeah.
But he didn't play his first game until he was 18.
18 years old and 158 days.
Yeah. A lot of people don't know this, though. He was drafted by the Charlotte Hornets.
Yep.
Not the Lakers. A lot of people, obviously we remember him from his Laker days. He spent his whole career with the Lakers, but he was drafted by the Charlotte Hornets.
Didn't play. Yeah, he was. He was immediately sent over to Chicago.
He was the same night, I think. Same.
Yeah, so he wore. There's a picture of him with a hat on. And It was like the same night.
Yeah, and he got traded for an old player named Vlade Divac.
And at the time, it was a good trade.
It was a good trade, I guess.
Well, who was it? Jerry. The logo for the basketball.
Oh, he's from West Virginia. Jerry West.
Yeah.
Jerry West. Jerry West, yeah.
Jerry West made that trade.
Yeah.
And he talked about, this kid is special.
Right.
So it seemed like you're treating Vlade for this kid who a lot of people weren't sure yet. They didn't see it. They didn't see what Jerry West was seeing.
Right. Well, you're at least if you're Charlotte, you were trading for an established NBA player.
Yeah.
And Vlade was not a superstar, but he was a solid basketball player. He was known for being just a good basketball player, a good teammate.
Where did Divac go after that?
Did
he play with? I keep thinking he played in Sacramento.
I'm not sure, but he was known for being a good basketball player, right?
Oh yeah.
Not great, but a solid basketball player.
Serbia.
He went to the Lakers.
Sacramento Kings, baby. He played with Mike Bibby.
Yeah.
Who was a hell of a guard. I liked him.
Yeah, he was
Jason
good.
Kidd were right there, I thought.
To put it in perspective, Vlade started his career in 1989, so he'd been in the league for 7 years or so before Kobe. So he was a nice established player. Mm-hmm. So Kobe comes in, gets traded to the Lakers, and then I think it's the same year they got Shaq, right?
Jerry West was telling Shaq like, this kid's gonna be amazing.
Right.
He was telling Shaq all this stuff.
Right. So point being, Shaq and Kobe come in together, and what's kind of interesting is the first, I'm not sure exactly how many years, 2 or 3 years, they were pretty good together, but they didn't win any championships. They weren't dominant in the playoffs. They played pretty well.
Then Phil Jackson came.
That was my next point. Phil Jackson came in 1999, and that's when things kind of shifted. And you guys probably know Phil Jackson. He was the coach of the Chicago Bulls when Michael Jordan was there, Scottie Pippen, Steve Kerr, Tony Kukoc, Dennis Rodman. So he came in to Los Angeles. He implemented the triangle offense. Yeah, and that was kind of the game changer for them.
And Zen Buddhism.
and Zen Buddhism. So that was kind of the game changer for Kobe, for Shaquille O'Neal.
Well, and to me, the system was perfect. Tex Winters.
Tex Winters, yeah.
Yeah, who he was the grandfather of that system.
I think he was the grandfather. He was the grandfather of it, and he's the one that I think sold it to Phil Jackson.
Well, he worked.
Chicago. He worked with them, right?
Yeah, he worked. So him and Phil, they were both assistant coaches to. What's that guy's name who got traded off? Not traded, but he was fired. Yeah, Doug Collins.
Doug Collins. Yeah, absolutely.
So Doug Collins, his system was like a D'Antoni system, like where he has a superstar dominating the ball.
Right.
But that couldn't get them over the top.
Exactly.
But I know we're talking about the Jordan. Let's go back to Kobe.
Yeah, we'll talk about Jordan another day.
But what I'm saying is, Phil Jackson understood that, hey, Jordan, hey, Kobe,
right,
and Shaq, we know you're good. We got to make everyone else better. We got to create a system.
We got to create a system.
We got to work together as a team.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. So, I know that Shaq and Kobe, before Phil Jackson came along, in the regular season, they were pretty dominant. They were like 150-46 or something. That was the record. Yeah. But then they got to the playoffs and they were 14-16. They just weren't getting anywhere in the playoffs. Phil Jackson comes in, implements this new system, and then that's when the rise started. That's when they started winning championships. I think they won their first championship in 2000, right? And then they won 2000, 2001, 2002, right? They won 3 in a row, Shaq and Kobe. And that was just... I still remember.
Yeah, they
that.
three-peated.
They three-peated.
And then they went one time after and they lost and they broke them up.
Well,
because Shaq wasn't getting paid, so.
Yeah, Shaq wasn't getting paid. And I think it's the year they brought Karl Malone and Gary Payton in, wasn't it?
Karl Malone played with the Lakers?
Yeah, he played for 1 year. Yeah, with the Lakers. Yeah. Yeah.
He did, because he said something about Kobe's wife.
Yeah.
And Kobe got pissed.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, Karl Malone, dude, that guy, the mailman, man. He always delivers.
Well, he tried to come in and get a ring off of Shaq and Kobe's back, basically, on the last year or two of his career. The last year of his career, I think. Okay. Which didn't work out for him. And you know how I feel about, well, you guys probably don't. I don't like when players go to a team to try to get a championship.
Yeah, I don't really like the era where people are chasing rings
like that. Super teams and shit like that. But yeah, man. I mean, we'll talk more about Kobe's basketball career, but those 3 championships in 2000, 2001, 2002 was right after I graduated high school.
Yeah,
and it was. For me, the NBA just came back, with just a vengeance, because like I said, after Jordan retired, I didn't know, and then now you got Kobe, and like I said, I always liked Shaq, but then Kobe, I mean, he just came in and he wasn't Michael Jordan, but he got the baton passed to him from Michael Jordan. If that makes sense.
He was.
Yeah,
everyone has seen that highlight video of Kobe and Jordan,
right?
They're basically the same player.
Absolutely.
It's emotional, isn't it?
It's emotional.
Jordan is my favorite player of all time.
Mine too.
And I think he's objectively the greatest.
Same.
And I think he's objectively the best.
Same.
So being better and greater, there's the GOAT and there's the BOAT.
Absolutely.
Which I think Max Kellerman from First Take talked about the BOAT, which is best of all time.
Yes.
So prime for prime, Jordan, that ship has sailed. Jordan's prime is higher than anyone else's.
Absolutely.
His PER.
Absolutely. But Kobe...
Which doesn't even really take defense into account very well.
Right.
Once you take that into account, he blows it away.
Yeah, but for me personally, at least I can only speak for my lifetime, Kobe was the closest thing to Michael
Yeah, to Michael, yeah.
Bar none. Because Kobe, not only did he have that God-given ability, he had that killer instinct.
No, I'm sorry, I don't want to interrupt you. Yeah, that's the big thing.
That's the big thing.
The Mamba mentality.
Yeah, the Mamba mentality.
So were you going to say the third thing?
So he had God-given talent. Mm-hmm. He had the killer instinct.
Yeah.
And then he had work ethic. I mean, his work ethic, from what we've heard insane stories about his work ethic.
Yeah, I got a couple stories.
Yeah, you got a couple stories. The dude was like Jordan. I mean, he just worked so much harder than anybody, and he was the best. Yeah. And a lot of industries, people don't think that the best is working the hardest, but they don't see what the best is doing behind the scenes, right?
Yeah.
So what's your favorite story of Kobe? Working really, really hard.
My favorite Kobe story? I mean, there's a bunch.
Yeah.
One of my favorite stories is during the Olympics when they were in Vegas.
Right.
Like at 3 o'clock in the morning or whatever, right. He calls Tim Grover's, which is Jordan's trainer, was still his trainer. Eventually, he called him up 3 or 4 in the morning and said, hey, I want to go on a 40-mile bike ride in the desert.
Wow.
So they take a security team, They go on a 40-mile bike ride, they follow him in a fucking SUV.
Right.
He comes back, starts practicing at he comes back at, I don't know, like 6 o'clock in the morning, starts practicing for 2 hours. Team gets up, they're all in the mess hall, eating,
right.
All tired, sleeping the ride. Dwayne Wade talks about this. Kevin Durant.
Blake Griffin, I think.
Yeah, Blake Griffin talked about this.
Well, he wanted to know if it was true. He didn't know if it was true.
So they come in, Kobe's all full of sweat.
Right.
Oh, yeah, hey guys, good morning. And they're all fucking just eating, just got up.
You know what's funny about that, though, is Kobe had to go 40 miles. And when I think about 40 miles in the desert, and not to be blasphemous or anything, I think of 40 days Jesus spent in the desert, right? You know what I mean? I can understand why Blake thought was pumped up, basically.
Yeah.
Right? But no, it's a true story. And it was confirmed to Blake, and that there's all kinds of stories like that about.
Yeah,
about
I mean,
Kobe.
Shaq talks about this, and then Kobe talked, and then other players confirmed this happened, but then Kobe said, I didn't do that. But Shaq said this happened.
Right.
That he went in to the gym, the lights were off, and Kobe didn't have a ball. He walked in, and Kobe was just in there running around, grunting and cutting.
Yeah,
acting like he had the ball and shooting.
Yeah, and people were like. And then there was another time I heard he was doing that, and I think the lights were on this one, and the other teammates were standing around watching Kobe, and this is like his rookie year, after he got drafted, like, what the hell is this kid doing? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And then Shaq ended up saying, though, that he really thinks it helped his game. Mm-hmm. But that just shows you, though, that Kobe looked at the game differently than other players. It was almost like chess. It was almost like he didn't need the ball in his hand to visualize and technically do the movements and technically practice.
Yeah, and you're getting a lot of conditioning going game speed doing that visualization.
Right. And it was he was able to focus on the movements, the actions, and not the ball. Mm-hmm. And I think that was really, really interesting because I'd never heard before I heard that story some years ago.
Yeah, it didn't really work well for me. I tried it one time.
You tried it one time, but I'd never heard that before. So yeah, one of my favorite stories of Kobe has to do with his work ethic as well. And there was a player that he played with named, I think it was John Celestin. I think it was his name. Wasn't a very well-named player, but he was talking about how he was really irritated by Kobe because every day he tried to be the earliest player to get to the gym to practice, right? He wanted to be the first one there because he wanted the coaches to come in and say, oh my God, John, you're the first guy here. Awesome work. Mm-hmm. But every time he went in, who was there? Kobe was there. Mm-hmm. So there was a game, and Kobe actually broke his wrist that night, broke his right hand, and Kobe shot with his right hand. So John was like, hell yeah, there's no way in hell Kobe's going to be at practice tomorrow morning at 5:30 a.m. because he broke his wrist. He's probably not going to show up because he's going to be nursing his wrist. So John pulls up to the gym. He walks in, and as soon as he opens the door, he hears boom, 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 boom. For you guys that don't know, that's the sound of a basketball echoing down the halls. Yeah. If you go into a gym, you hear the basketballs bouncing. And he's like, oh my fucking God. Well, he probably didn't say fucking, but he said, oh my God, that cannot be Kobe.
Yeah.
Cannot be Kobe. So he walks through the hall, walks up there, and who's there?
Yep.
Kobe Bryant. And he's shooting with his left hand. Mm-hmm. Since his right hand's broken, he's shooting with his left hand at like 5:30 in the morning. So I think that just tells you the dedication that Kobe had to the craft. Like, Kobe was not going to be playing until that broken hand healed. But he was still in there, and he looked at this opportunity to make his left hand stronger.
And is that story or another story? And it might have been another team where they're practicing in the same facility. Towards the end of that, if it's the same story, he says, like, he asked him about his work ethic or something. He said, "Oh, I just did it to show you that you're never going to work harder than me," or something like that.
I don't remember that, but it's very
that's
possible.
Another story, a similar story where he says that. So another one of my favorite, like, things that he did involving his work ethic. Okay?
Right.
And this can be applied to life, guys, with a lot of different things. So he would get up at 3 a.m. To go practice at 4.
Right.
And he'd practice 4 to 6, come home, relax, eat breakfast, take his kids to school, then start playing again from 10 to from like 8 to 10.
Right.
And take time off. Okay, and then start playing from 12 to 2. Okay, and then come home, take a break, and then 4 to 6 or whatever.
Right.
Okay, so a lot of people, he said, they wake up, eat breakfast at wake up 8 or 9, eat breakfast, get in the gym from 10 to 12, recover, go back in, go from 2 to 4.
Right.
So he started doing this in high school, he said, or definitely very early in his career. So at first it's tiring, but then year 3, year 4, you start to move ahead of everybody, and there's no way that they can catch up because you're 5 years ahead of them.
Yes.
Because you put in 3 times as much time.
Absolutely.
And he's like, if your goal is to be the best basketball player you can be, it makes sense to get up that early. As long as, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And we can say that in the end, and even though he had a great career, he played for a long time, in the end, the overuse did get to his body.
Absolutely did. He started to break down towards the end.
Yeah.
Before we move on, though, I want to tell a couple more stories, and they're brief. One was he called his trainer. I can't remember his trainer name. It was the same trainer you mentioned. At 3:30 in the morning, 4 in the morning. And his trainer, for some reason, had been up all night watching the movie Casablanca. And have you heard the story?
Yeah.
Yeah. And Kobe's like, "Hey, man, I want you to, I hope I didn't bother you. Can you come down and help me work out and do something?" I can't remember what it was.
I remember he was like, "Now?"
Now. Yeah, right. So he goes and helps him, and he goes back to the hotel room after he helps Kobe. And
you're missing part of the story.
What part of the story?
He gets there and Kobe's covered in sweat already.
Oh yeah, well he gets there, Kobe's already covered in sweat, so Kobe's been working his ass off. But then when Kobe's done with that and the trainer can go back to the hotel room, he goes back, sleeps for a little bit, comes back, and he still sees Kobe over there shooting hoops. So he walks over to Kobe and he's like, "Hey, what are you doing?" And Kobe's like, "Well, I wanted to make 800 baskets before I left."
Before I
left.
Before I started practice.
Before I started practice. And right before they started to practice, all this shit Kobe did was Kobe shit. It wasn't what the coach expected. It wasn't the coach's practice.
Yeah.
Right before the practice started, he made his 800th shot.
He's like, "Yeah, I just finished it."
Yeah, just finished, and now they're getting ready to practice. And man, that's just dude, that's insane.
I love it.
That's fucking insane.
Fucking love it, dude.
And the other one is it's not basketball related, but it's really fun, and it's just shows you that Kobe's greatness and his passion and his drive to be the greatest didn't just revolve around basketball; it revolved around life. Ping pong story. Have you heard the ping pong story?
Are you sure? I heard a Jordan story, the ping pong story.
I don't think it's as good as the Jordan story because I think Jordan actually buy a ping pong table and then start practicing like crazy.
Yeah, it was against who's that Duke player? Christian Laettner.
Yeah.
Christian Laettner was whooping everyone's ass in ping pong.
Yeah. So this was, I can't remember the player that he played, but this guy was pretty good at ping pong, and he the first game he played Kobe, he beat up on him pretty good. The second one, he said Kobe just clicked the switch, and he said, in all the times that he played a guy that's not good at ping pong, because Kobe was not good at ping pong, this was the most intense ping pong game where he pretty much dominated somebody. Kobe was so intense, so insanely intense, that he just wanted to win so bad, even though there was no possible way for him to win because this dude was pretty good at ping pong. Kobe was not good at ping pong.
Yeah.
He said it was just he could feel the intensity in his chest, and he had no reason to feel nervous about this game.
There's no stakes.
Yeah, there's no stakes, and he knew that Kobe wouldn't beat him. It'd be like me. It would basically be like me playing somebody who's really good at basketball, and they're going to definitely beat me, but my intensity makes that player nervous just because I'm so intense. So Kobe ended up losing the second game as well, but he told his trainer or his assistant, "Hey, we need to buy a ping pong table." Mm-hmm. Now, there was never any continuation like the Jordan story where I think Jordan did end up buying a ping pong table and getting really good.
Yeah, and this is during when they were in Barcelona.
Yeah.
So, and he beats Christian Laettner.
Yeah, he ends up beating Christian Laettner, but
supposedly.
That's just the intensity that these guys have. Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant. It's just a different level, man. Just a different level.
The guy just amazing. Like, he carried that over into his post NBA career. Mm-hmm. He won an Academy Award for his short film, basketball short film.
Yeah, it's called Dear Basketball.
Yeah, he collaborated with the animator, I think, who animated like some of the Renaissance Disney movies, like Aladdin and Lion King.
Yeah,
he collaborated with those this beautiful thing. I don't know if you've seen the film. It's
the Dear Basketball.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah,
amazing.
It's a beautiful.
Animation's great.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm at the point right now I can't watch it because it makes me too emotional still.
Well, he this guy would call billionaire CEOs at like 5 a.m, or he'd be texting them.
Right. Kobe.
Asking them questions.
Right.
And it's just funny that he actually called J.K. Rowling to ask her about Harry Potter.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and he said, "Okay, now I can write a book." This guy thought that way.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is he went on to write this Harry Potter-esque, basketball-esque.
Yes, I heard about that.
Yeah, there's so they're on Amazon. Mm-hmm. There's a few of them. There's supposed to be a few of them.
And are they like sports fantasies? Sports fantasy books?
Yeah, but there's like a magic element involved. I understand.
Okay.
When I read the synopsis, I'm like, that sounds real weird.
Yeah.
Like it's trying to be Harry Potter.
Right.
Like the reviews, like this is pretty damn good.
Huh.
Considering this guy just fucking wrote a book and it's like really good. He never done anything like that before.
Absolutely. He definitely. So for all the dreams that Kobe had concerning basketball, which were huge, and I think he fulfilled probably all of them. Hopefully,
well, he wanted 7 championships.
He wanted 7, but he fulfilled most of them. I think he would look back and be very happy about his career. His intensity post NBA career for what he was going to do was just as intense. I mean, I've heard quotes and read quotes from people where they said he was just as dialed in for his post NBA career. Getting in the entertainment industry, starting his own Granity Studios. Anyway, he started entertainment studios where he was producing the Dear Basketball film. He wrote those 2 or 3 books, children's books.
Yeah. And he did he kind of started that. What was that? NBA.
It was Details.
Details.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, which I loved. That's where he broke down the film, right?
He talked about this guy. This is how he plays defense. This is why it's so good.
Right.
Or this is how you play defense on like a Kevin Durant. Right? He's so long. He's this and that. He shoots. He's just shooting the center, and then later on, when he started getting better, he started shooting to the right of his head.
Right.
And when that happened, he started giving Kobe problems. So, and he just talked about where to put your hands, and this is the most you can do is this right here, unless you get unlucky. Unless you get lucky.
Right.
So it's real cool. Yeah.
A lot of people probably don't love that, but I loved that, and I loved seeing the breakdown of it.
I do too. Yeah.
To me, it was a glimpse into Kobe's mind. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean, and how he could break down things. And that's I'm glad you mentioned that because that's one of the things when looking back on Kobe's life and NBA career, that a lot of his teammates would say that he'd be on the airplane or the team bus when everybody else was sleeping or talking to their girlfriends or wives or whatever, playing on Facebook. He was watching film. And people would be sleeping. Other players on the team would be sleeping, and he would be watching not his own film, but he'd be watching his teammates' film. He'd walk up to the front of the plane or the bus, and he'd wake them up and say, "Hey, dude, come back here. We got to watch this film." And he would literally break down what they did wrong and where there was an opening that they missed, because he wanted to not only make himself greater, he wanted to make those around him greater. And I think that's what separates him and Michael Jordan from some of the other NBA stars, is they really made those around him much, much greater. Much better.
Yeah, and basically, no, you're right. The only thing I would say is early in Kobe's career, he was known for being more of a recluse than Jordan was and Shaq was.
Yes, he was.
He was aloof, early on, he started incorporating his teammates.
Yes.
He started embracing Phil's philosophies a lot more. And he wasn't as a selfish takeover because he wanted to be what Jordan did.
Yeah, well, I do know that there were some quotes from players early in his career where they basically they were telling him, "Hey, you need to get more involved with the team."
Yeah.
On a social end, like you said, he was much more aloof in private life, and I remember there was one quote. I can't remember exactly who it was, but they told him basically, "Hey, we don't even really know you," because he was this young kid.
The league was real old when he went.
Yeah, the league was older. His teammates were established players, and they were challenging him to get more involved with the team and stuff like that. But I mean,
Phil talked about that as well. And Phil's got a book. I think I have it.
Mm-hmm.
11 Rings or some shit.
11 Rings or something. Okay.
And he talked about because he compares Michael and Kobe. Because he says no one in his life that he knew worked harder than Kobe. Because, I mean, here's the thing. Like, Kobe and Jordan, they had a lot of similarities. Like, Jordan is said to be 6'6". Kobe is 6'5".
Right.
They're both guards.
Right.
They have a similar play style. But, like, Jordan had so much natural talent, and then he can impose that talent on people without having to practice as much, even though he worked his ass off.
Right.
Like, Kobe, wasn't as good as Jordan was when he got in the league.
Right.
And of course, he didn't go to UNC and get coached by Dean Smith.
Absolutely.
But, even then, I don't think Kobe was close to Jordan.
Right.
Jordan was the best player talent-wise in the league his first year, probably.
Absolutely. I think I don't think everybody knew he would be the best in the league because he got drafted number 3, but they knew he was going to be very good. He came in, I mean, within a couple of years, Jordan was averaging 35 points a game, right?
Yeah.
Something like that. Ridiculous. So
and what's funny is when people talk about how he couldn't pass, when he played point guard, there was a playoff where he, I think it was with Doug Collins.
Right.
He had him at the point, and he has an absurd amount of assists.
This is Jordan.
Jordan,
yeah, absolutely.
Anyway, so back to Kobe. Actually, another cool story. Jeannie Buss told the story. I'm trying to find a video. I can't find it anywhere. Where she told the story, when she was getting to know Kobe, when basically during his meeting to get into the league,
right?
Not the league, but the coaches meeting or whatever. Right?
Yeah, where they interview the players.
Yeah, he was talking to her, and he said he wants to learn he's learning how to play the piano. And she just remember always thinking about how impressed she was.
Yeah.
And this guy is 18. He just signed a millions of dollar contract. He's going to be in this league, and no other player thinks about anything else.
Right.
I'm going to go learn to play piano.
Right.
Why?
Right.
It's because that's the kind of person he was. He wanted to learn other things.
Right. Well, Kobe was a classy dude, man.
Even the fact that he was just signed this big contract, and
right.
When that happens, young kids they think, "Oh, this is my life."
Yeah.
He still was concerned about learning the piano.
And I think
that's really cool.
Yeah, I think that's one reason Kobe did have so much trouble adjusting to the United States was because he was a classy dude. He was in Italy, which Italy is a different culture. Mm-hmm. He came over here and meshing with the culture in Philadelphia was probably pretty difficult to do for Kobe, but obviously it worked out really well. Mm-hmm. I want to before we completely move on from this, I want to talk a little bit about Kobe winning the 2 championships with Shaq.
Yeah.
The 3. The 3. And how that really, in a weird way, drove Kobe later on in his career when he won the 2009-2010 championships. Because those championship rings with Shaq really drove Kobe in 2009-2010, not just those years, but after Shaq left, because everybody said that Kobe
couldn't do without him.
Couldn't do without Shaq.
Yeah.
And obviously we know that's not true now, but that's what made Kobe different was he used that fuel to drive him. And when Kobe won that championship in 2009, I mean, it was just, I remember that, and it was just incredible. And I know he reacted pretty strong. And
because he lost previously to the Boston Celtics.
So he avenged that loss.
In 2008.
Yeah, so he avenged that loss. But that speaks volumes of Kobe. Kobe, won those championships with Shaq, but he wanted to show the world, and he wanted to prove to himself that he could do it without Shaq, and he did. I mean, there's no doubt.
Yeah. Shaq got one with the Heat because then he won one with the Heat.
Right.
And then he went to Cleveland, LeBron, right?
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
Everyone thought they were going to fucking tear it up. And he was just done.
Yeah, he was just done.
He was done.
That was the end. I remember being hyped when he went to Cleveland. That was weird, man.
Yeah.
But, yeah, man. And then, in 2009, 2010, Kobe, there was nobody carrying Kobe. Not that, and I don't believe Shaq carried Kobe in those earlier championships.
No, they definitely. I think it was like a 1A, 1B.
It was a partnership, right?
Yeah, I mean, Pau Gasol, that was the big trade that the Lakers got that helped Kobe. Yeah, because Kwame was part of that trade, wasn't he?
I think so. Kwame fucking Brown. But 2009, 2010, Kobe just he cemented his greatness for me. I mean, just cemented it.
There's a story where Kobe hangs his Olympic medal against Spain in Pau Gasol's locker in 2009.
Right.
Just like, hey, because because they lost 2008.
Right.
And then they had the Olympics.
Right.
Right, and they beat Spain.
Yep.
And then he took that medal just to motivate Pau.
That's freaking awesome.
For 2009 and 10, yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that was a beautiful thing. And like you said, Kobe retired with 5 championships, which, second to Jordan was 6. And then, of course, some older like Bill Russell will have 6.
Robert Horry. Yeah, he's got like fucking 7 or 8.
But, in this era, 5 championships is unbelievable. It really is. It's really
it's insanely hard to do. You know what I mean? Because there's just so many. Like, you could argue in football it's probably harder to win a Super Bowl, though.
Right.
Because it's playoff, you lose one game, you're done.
Right.
And but in basketball, the best team almost always wins.
Right. But now you have the era.
Because you have a 7-game series.
Now you have the era of free agency where players readily switch teams. They
can force their way out.
You just can't. What Jordan did with 6 championships was really impressive.
Yeah, but 6 for 6 with 6 Finals MVP.
Which is
never
insane.
had a Game 7.
Yeah, insane. Insane.
Go on.
And that was amazing. I mean, it was fantastic. What Kobe did was arguably almost as great, I think.
Yeah,
in that era with people switching teams more often.
I don't want to say which is harder.
Right.
I mean, like, Jordan had a good situation both times, I thought. And I'm not going to take credit away from, it was definitely a hard road to get there. They had to go through the Detroit Pistons.
Well, Jordan, I think, the Eastern Conference was historically strong.
Yeah, it was historically strong when he played, as opposed to the West.
But Kobe, the West...
Which is the opposite when LeBron played. Yeah. It was historically weak.
Right. But when Kobe played in the West, the West was pretty strong.
The West was strong.
Because you had the Spurs, right? Mm-hmm. And some other really good teams. So, we haven't really talked about LeBron at all. But, when you talk about LeBron, to me... And we won't talk much about LeBron, but that's the one thing that he's missing that Kobe and Michael had.
Staying with one franchise?
No, this insanely killer instinct.
And people have talked about this in comments. LeBron is one of the greatest players of all time. Mm-hmm. He's the greatest player today.
Right.
But I don't think he's the greatest player ever.
No, he's not the greatest player.
I don't think it's close between him and Jordan.
Neither.
Unfortunately, because it's been a year, and we could talk about Kobe, like where you think he is on the Mount Rushmore.
We will talk about that, yes.
Because to me, it just didn't seem like good taste to talk about it like a year ago.
No.
Who cares, right?
Who cares?
But I've been really obsessed with Larry Bird lately.
Yeah.
I've been watching him and Magic and their highlights going.
Yeah.
These dudes were insane.
Well, that's the thing that happens.
Like they were so much more cerebral.
Yeah.
Than any other player in that era. And more today, you see a little bit of Chris Paul. Jordan had a lot of the same cerebralness that Magic and Bird had, but he can impose his will physically as well.
Well, yeah, that's Kobe too.
And Kobe as well.
Yeah.
But but the craftiness that you see from Bird, who's this fucking unathletic white guy from
French Lick, Indiana.
French Lick, Indiana. And he's proud of French Lick.
Hell yeah.
Wearing his t-shirt. This is for French Lick, Indiana. You know what I mean? So the hick from French Lick, he was so crafty, it was insane.
He's so crafty.
Never, Kobe and Michael.
They didn't have to be as crafty.
They didn't have to be.
Yeah, they didn't have to be as crafty.
And I think they could be, though. But LeBron, Birds was probably born out of necessity. He's playing all these athletic black guys,
right?
And he's just this unathletic white dude.
Well, I think, and I'm hoping that people this generation don't know how great Larry was.
No, they don't. They don't.
But I'm hoping with this generation...
they say, Larry and Magic saved the NBA.
Yeah, absolutely. But I'm hoping with this generation, with YouTube, with social media, the players like Kobe, LeBron, I hope people watch them on YouTube. If you're a basketball fan today, okay, and I challenge the viewers, if you're a basketball fan today and you don't know much about Larry Bird, Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, if you haven't watched their games, go on YouTube and watch them. Because I'm telling you, these guys, you're really missing out. I mean, you hear how good Jordan was, and maybe even you tell yourself, oh, Michael was the best ever, but if you haven't seen it for yourself, you just don't know how good
There's
he
the
was.
stats which show PER, right? And then there's the eyeball test.
Right.
The eyeball test is super clear.
Absolutely.
And the only argument people will say is, oh, well, teams back then weren't as strong. I mean, that's nonsense. There's, Jordan took down, I think, more 50-win teams than anyone in history.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And Jordan was the biggest hindrance to his legacy more than anybody because he retired. He retired for, what, he missed 2 years or a year and a half?
Well, his father was murdered.
Yeah.
And then, and he got kind of in the media. I mean, it gets into this in The Last Dance, but the media, they were even saying stuff, is Jordan partly responsible for his father getting killed? Is this a hit?
I remember all that, and that was so tragic because he
so, Magic Johnson's you're pushing this guy out of the sport.
Yeah.
And then he went to pursue his childhood dream.
Baseball.
And he said, him and his dad had this agreement that he was going to do it anyways.
Right.
He told a reporter during the Barcelona Olympics that he was going to do it. He'd do it right now. But Larry and Magic never won 3 in a row, so he has to do that.
Right, and that's the thing. Jordan took a year off, and then he came back.
Couple years.
Did he come back at the end of the second year though? And he lost because to the Magic in the playoffs.
Yeah, and then
Eastern Conference.
Yeah, and that's when Hakeem won too.
Yeah, that's when Hakeem won.
He wouldn't have won without Jordan, at least.
Yeah, but get back to my point though. Jordan's legacy, if he didn't take those couple years off, there would be no discussion here. You know what I mean? These people that have these discussions about who...
I think the fact that he took 2 years off, came back...
I think it shows he's even greater.
Yeah, and then he did it with a different team.
Right. Who can do that? Right. Absolutely.
I mean, Kobe did it with a different team twice.
Yeah.
But he didn't do it 3 times.
Right.
He didn't three-peat twice.
Right.
He three-peated, and then he had 2 in a row.
But, I mean, that said, what's some of your favorite Kobe memories as far as games? Do you have any games that you remember?
What was it in their second championship where he alley-oops it to Shaq?
Oh my gosh.
And Shaq goes,
yes, dude, that was fucking crazy. I remember watching that actually, and I just remember getting so fucking hyped.
Well, because you graduated and then you went.
Yes.
And my relationship with basketball had a lot to do with you.
Yeah.
And so I really embraced the NBA after you left.
Yeah.
And so 7th, 8th, and 9th grade, I was really watching.
Yes.
Or 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, I started really watching Kobe in 7th grade. I think that was his second championship.
Yeah, that's probably my single most favorite Kobe Shaq moment there. I mean, that was just so epic, and that almost gives me goosebumps now just thinking about it.
One of my favorite moments is actually his last season, his last game against LeBron, when he was an old man, barely walking on a leg.
Yeah, for you guys that don't know, the last 2 or 3 years of his career were injury plagued.
And what's funny is when people compare his PER to LeBron's and some other players, Kobe is down here.
Right.
Well, his last few years were horrendous on his PER.
Absolutely.
So Kobe wasn't really Kobe then. It's
right.
And of course you have to. He did play.
He played. Yeah.
So the stats are there. It's what's funny is Jordan. His PER is still higher than anybody's when you count his Wizard years.
Right. Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
But okay, so Kobe's his average player efficiency rating was hindered a lot by his last few years. That being said, he plays his last game against LeBron and the Cavs. They lost. He outscored LeBron, which I know it's more than just point scoring.
26, I think.
Yeah, he outscored LeBron. But he does this up and under move.
Right.
And I actually have it right here. I'll show it to you. It's just a great old school footwork move, man.
Kobe and James.
That just gives me goosebumps, man. Gives me goosebumps. That's crazy.
Or just like,
and you know, LeBron appreciated that.
Of course, LeBron. Yeah, like all respect, one of the greatest of all time. I mean, I think in terms of, like, I don't think he's the greatest player, but like in terms of the greatest, most accomplished career, I mean, he's going against what. Basically Kareem, I think.
Yeah, well, the thing you can say about...
Because he's been so good for so long.
Yeah.
But a lot of it has to do with modern technology and like what we know about the body. Like when Kobe, when he was in the league, his first few years, and this is, his first few years, like they were smoking cigarettes in the locker room.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like LeBron spends $100,000 a year on his body.
Absolutely.
Massage, everything else.
You can say what you want about LeBron, though. He is a student of the game as far as he knows legacy, and he knows how important Kobe is.
Yeah, there's nothing but love and respect between those guys.
Respect,
yeah. You know what I mean? And it was so sad, and and I felt bad. I felt like a jerk watching it. But the reporter or the person who captured LeBron's reaction when he was crying outside the airplane.
Oh man, I lost it, dude. I absolutely lost it.
Yeah, part of me was like, "Why are you fucking recording him?" A part of me was like, I couldn't take my eyes off. I was crying.
Yeah, I was crying. I was a wreck. I think LeBron's wife ran up to him and hugged him, and it was brutal, man. Any other favorite Kobe game moments or games or just entire games?
That run during the playoffs when he had like all those buzzer beaters.
Yeah, I remember that.
And I think that might have been that dry spot where they weren't winning.
Right.
I mean, they were in the playoffs, but he wouldn't. I don't think he was winning championships.
Right.
He was kind of a one-man show.
Absolutely.
I mean, Kobe was...
He was carrying the whole team during those few years.
Yeah, like Phil Jackson said. Yeah. Like, Kobe, no one worked harder than Kobe.
Right.
No one had a bigger heart than Kobe.
Nobody wanted it more than Kobe.
Nobody did.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like Jordan, I think, wanted it just as much, but I think Jordan was just a little more gifted.
A little bit more gifted.
Yeah, I mean,
absolutely.
Like Kobe, like he wasn't an all-star his first year,
but he was an all-star 18 out of the 20 years, so he only missed a couple times.
Yeah,
and it was probably those first couple years.
There was a year that he wasn't a starter that he was voted as an all-star.
Right, which he wasn't happy about. I don't think. I remember reading a quote where he was not happy that he was like that. Basically, he was just gifted an all-star.
Yeah,
all-star. But he, one of the major. Before we switch subject, though, I want to get in my most important moments because there's a couple things that really bother me that I want to talk about.
Okay.
So my favorite moments were games, and I mean they're kind of just the dead giveaways, but I love when Kobe was just completely locked in, and he had a game where he scored 81 points. Do you remember that game?
Yeah, against Jalen Rose.
Yeah, he scored 81 points, and that's just insane. Michael's career high was 69 points.
Yeah.
And, Kobe scored 81 points, and he was so locked in. And I don't know if you remember, but the first quarter of that game, the Lakers were trailing. They weren't playing well at all.
No.
I think they were down 10, 12 points. And then Kobe just got locked in. And I think by halftime, Kobe had like 30 points, I think, by halftime. So that means he scored like 51 points in the second half. And, one of the things Kobe was not known for was his three-point shooting, right? He wasn't a great three-point shooter. He was okay. I think he shot for a career like 33%.
He was good in the clutch.
He was good in the clutch.
And he was fearless. But you got to understand, that's when the league was transitioning from 2 to 3s.
It wasn't a three-point league. Yeah, this was before all those insane analytics that say that, you should take a lot of 3 points.
You should take threes, and you should be in the paint.
Yeah.
You should, which is funny because Michael Jordan, the greatest player ever lived,
right?
And if you don't, and he's certainly the best offensive scorer of all time.
Right.
You cannot disagree with that.
Right. There's no disagreement.
All twos. Right.
Right.
There was a Derrick Rose, like he had his. What was it, a couple years ago? He was one of my favorite players ever.
Yeah,
he scored 50 points with like all these insane amount of dribbles.
Right.
Like working his ass off, right?
Right.
And Klay Thompson scored like 50 also with like 6 dribbles or 4 dribbles.
Right.
It just shows the way the game's changed.
Different philosophies. And
and I don't like the new way.
Yeah. Well, that's my point about his 81-point game. It wasn't all in the paint. I mean, he was shooting those difficult Michael Jordan-esque fadeaway, post-up fadeaways, a lot of long twos, a lot of three-pointers. Like I said, Kobe wasn't known for being a league leader in 3-point percentage. He was, average. I think average in the league, 33% or so. But just during that game, to see how locked in he was, and see the crowd was going crazy. See the smiles on the face of his teammates and the team he was playing.
Yeah, people going crazy. They're jumping up and down.
But what was the look on Kobe's face? Locked in.
Yeah.
He was locked in. Okay. There was no smiles. There was no happiness. None. He was completely devoid of happiness. He was just
good,
focused.
Glad.
You know what I mean? And that game, dude, when I was watching that game, I was in disbelief.
Were you actually watching it?
I was actually watching it.
I missed it.
Yeah, I was actually watching the game. And then, to put that in historical perspective, in the modern era, that's the biggest scoring game in history. Now, of course, Wilt Chamberlain had one in like the 19...
He had 100. But back then, you can run and dunk from the foul line. You know that? Like, if you're shooting a foul shot, you can jump from the foul line and dunk.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
And it,
Is that true?
It's true.
Is that true?
If I'm true, look, prove me wrong.
If he's not true, you tell us.
Yeah.
But anyway, but of course, Wilt Chamberlain was like 7'1".
Everyone else is 5'10".
Everybody was 5'10", fat and chubby like me. They didn't work out.
These fucking white guys.
Yeah, white guys.
Hair parted on the middle.
I mean, they dribbled like this. I don't know if they really dribbled like that, but
yeah.
Yeah, I mean that game was just unbelievable. I don't think I've ever seen somebody so locked in. Yeah, I mean he was just ran. He wasn't wide open. I mean he was creating space. And he was knocking down shots. Yeah. And then the other one, and this is just another obvious choice, but it's really meant a lot to me, was his final game.
His final game. I was going to say that.
Yeah, his final game.
I can't believe he gave us that fucking performance before he left.
That performance.
Like to me, I think that was a great. Short of winning a championship. Yeah, I mean that's
short of winning a championship. That was
like the way Jordan went out.
Yeah.
Before he came out with the Wizards.
Right.
I mean that's a swan song.
But Kobe, I mean that 60-point performance, it was just awe-inspiring. And when you factor in the last 2 or 3 years with his injuries, his body wasn't what it used to be. He just came out there, man, and he just...
Yeah, it was against the Utah Jazz, right?
Utah Jazz, and he just came out there and he just...
And they were losing that game, too. And it was down to the wire.
Yeah, it was down to the wire. And he just played great, man. He played for one night, he played like the old Kobe. And, I shed a little tear on that night, man.
Yeah, I did too, man.
That was just unbelievable. It was unbelievable. Sorry about that. But, yeah, that was just unbelievable. Way to end his career, man. End his career. It was just a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
So let's get into one of the things that really bothers me about Kobe's career, and it's not Kobe's fault. It's not Kobe's fault because Kobe was amazing.
Yeah.
But he only won one MVP.
No, that's ridiculous. A couple years that he should have won, he didn't.
Right. Yeah. To me, it's unfathomable. It doesn't make rational sense.
It's like when Karl Malone got it from Jordan. Like that last year.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I just
Karl Malone.
I just see some little freaking knucklehead someday, like 20 years down the road, saying, "Oh, Kobe Bryant, he wasn't that great. He only won one MVP." And honestly, it pisses me off because I know that from 2000, like after Jordan retired, before LeBron became his dominant force.
There's so much. It's like.
There's so much variance, right?
Yeah, there's so much variance, and it's like one of those things where, like, well, you won it last year, let's give it to this guy.
Right.
Because we know that in this era, LeBron should win every single year.
Right.
Harden won one, Westbrook won one.
Right.
But we all know it's LeBron.
Right.
But I get it.
I get it.
I get that, but Kobe should have won something.
That stat bothers me. Just because for his legacy, when people look back at him, I don't want people looking back and saying, well, he only won one MVP. Cause,
Steve Nash got one.
Yeah, the Nash won a couple in that time frame. And, Steve Nash is a really good basketball player. Probably a Hall of Famer.
Dirk Nowitzki is, Dirk Nowitzki.
Yeah. But, Kobe should have won 2, 3, probably 4. Let me ask you this. Do you know who...
Yeah, when he was playing with Smush Parker, Kwame Brown,
That reminds me of a story.
They made it in the playoffs.
Smush Parker, do you remember him?
I mean, I just remember people talking about how bad he was.
He was... really bad. Well, I don't know if he's really that bad, but people said he was really bad. I don't want to shit on the guy. He already has the name Smush. So, but he's the guy that told the story that he walked up to Kobe, and Kobe tried to talk to Kobe about football or something. I can't remember what it was.
I think
tried to talk to him about something. Just like they were buddies, right? And Kobe, he goes, "Hey, Kobe, what's up, buddy? How you doing? How about that football game last night?" And Kobe said something to the effect of, "Do you remember?"
Yeah, he's being a jerk. He said, "You don't get to talk to me.
Your stat line or your legacy isn't big enough to talk to me yet," or something like that.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, wow. Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
that was pretty brutal.
That was a little brutal because Kobe at that time he needed to learn a little more to get his teammates. He said that was one of his biggest things in his career. He regrets is like not reaching out to his teammates more.
Well, that. I think when that happened was in between the championships with Shaq and Kobe winning the championships in 2009, 2010.
Like the Shaq dynasty and
the Kobe dynasty or Kobe, repeat.
Like people say, like the Shaq. Just to differentiate, the Shaq dynasty and the Pau Gasol dynasty.
Yeah. Not talking dynasty as in like historical dynasty.
Yeah.
Like Jordan's dynasty of winning 6 championships.
But I mean, there's no other dynasty like that. So the Lakers did have a dynasty.
Yeah.
Like the Golden State did have a dynasty.
Yeah, absolutely. But that was brutal. But I think Kobe was in really shitty mind frame during those time frames because he hated losing and not winning championships so much. So
and then Shaq left 1-1 in Miami.
Right. Yeah. That probably pissed off Kobe even more. Let me ask you this: do you remember who won the 1996 Rookie of the Year?
No.
Over Kobe?
No.
Damon Stoudemire. Do you remember that name?
No.
He was a decent NBA player. But he wasn't, obviously nowhere near Kobe.
Yeah, I mean, granted, Kobe's first year wasn't that great, but...
Right.
When you look at his whole career, it's like, man.
Right.
I think it's almost so impressive how he got from there.
Right.
Jordan was Rookie of the Year. LeBron was Rookie of the Year.
Right.
Look where Kobe, had to go. Like, all he had to go through to get to become great.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. I think that pretty much about takes care of it. Before we go, though, I just want to talk about Kobe's family a little bit. I mean, when he passed away, it left his wife, Vanessa, who, that was a true love, man. That was a true. I really believe that was a true love. I mean,
they had some problems, you know, and then they got through it.
Yeah. I mean, there was definitely some problems that everybody heard about,
and then like. And it's just the fact that they lost their daughter, like the whole, he's leaving in that family.
Right.
The whole that he's leaving in the world.
Yeah.
Terrible thing.
Yeah, so Kobe and Vanessa met when they were pretty young. Mm-hmm. They had 4 kids, 4 daughters, and then...
because the newborn.
Yeah, the newborn, right. Yeah, that was born...
Who's not even going to know her dad.
Yeah, not even going to know her dad. And, but yeah, when Kobe passed, he left, ended up 3 daughters because Gianna passed with Kobe. Mm-hmm. And, everybody talks about Gianna was going to be a WNBA superstar someday. And, which is, obviously hard for the fans of the WNBA, but obviously the most tragic thing was a life, life was lost, a young life, 13 years old. And now Vanessa is, raising 3 daughters on her own. And, our hearts and prayers go out to her because we know that, on this day, January 26th, it's going to be a really brutal day for her, and leading, it probably has been for the last, few weeks leading up to it. And our prayers are with them. We just thank and appreciate Kobe for everything he did for the NBA. And I'm really sad, being a father of 3 daughters, that we're not going to get to see what he was going to do for little girls. So he was just the ultimate girl dad, and he loved as great as he was in the NBA and taking on those responsibilities and taking that seriously. He took it very seriously being a dad of daughters, and he was going to do amazing things, and Gianna was going to do amazing things for women's basketball, girls in general. Mm-hmm. And I hate that we're not going to see that.
Yeah, it's cut short.
Yeah, it's cut really short.
Well put. One thing that we didn't talk about yet, one of the last things to talk about, where is he on the Mount Rushmore?
Where is he on the Mount Rushmore?
I don't know.
Jordan.
See, for me, it's Jordan, and then like Kobe, Bird, and Magic always are fighting for second place, pretty much.
So I got to go Jordan 1, Kobe 2. We got LeBron too. I think LeBron's top 5.
Yeah, I think he's probably the best forward ever.
Yeah, best forward ever.
He's a point forward, I guess, right? But he's probably the best forward ever.
Yeah. I think when you get to that top 5 after Jordan and Kobe, for me, after Jordan and Kobe, it's there's no wrong or right answer when you go 3 to 7 or 3 to 10. Because you got the Larry Birds, you got the Magic Johnsons. But yeah, man, I think that about covers. You got anything else? You got Kobe at 2, and I got Kobe at 2.
I got. You know, I think Jalen Rose said this. Like, Michael Jordan might be the greatest, but he said Kobe was the most skilled player who ever lived.
Yeah, that's probably true. Yeah, that's probably
true.
In
terms of like all the skills he had in his hat.
Yeah,
I think he had more than anybody. He couldn't always, like. He wasn't as big as LeBron, so he couldn't always impose his will and take over that way.
Right.
But he can take over with his skills and his mentality.
Yeah. Well, Kobe and Kobe even admitted, even though there's quotes of him saying he doesn't want to be Michael Jordan, he wants to be Kobe. He fashioned his game after Michael.
For sure.
That patented fadeaway jumper was Jordan made a career off of that, and Kobe, I don't think. I mean, Kobe was the closest to Jordan as far as that patented fadeaway jumper that I've ever seen. It's just insane how much height he'd get, how effective he was, because most guys just can't do it like those guys did it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then obviously a little bit of the flash that Kobe had, he patented after Jordan. And then, but I don't think Kobe got the work ethic from Jordan. He didn't get the killer instinct from Jordan. That's God-given.
That's God-given. And like Phil Jackson said, and what's been apparent from eyewitness testimony is Kobe worked harder than Jordan, worked harder than anybody.
Yeah, worked harder. And that honestly was the big rift between Kobe and Shaq was, Kobe felt like Shaq didn't work hard because Kobe was just so insane, so intense as far as his work ethic. But yeah, man, I think a great conversation, a great way to respect and remember Kobe. I know I can speak for myself. I miss Kobe a lot because
no, I get it.
Yeah,
and
man.
Like Mike, like that's that eulogy celebration of Kobe's life in Gianna, that they did at
the Coliseum in LA,
yeah, man, like seeing Shaq cry like that,
seeing
and Jordan
Shaq cry, all those people just, Kobe meant a lot to all of us. He meant a lot to people all over the world, China, Australia, the UK, the United States, obviously. He touched people all over the world, and we miss him. We love him, and you'll probably definitely see us talk more about Kobe on the channel. I hope so.
Yeah.
I think that's it.
I think that's it, guys. So I hope you enjoyed our little kind of podcast tribute to Kobe. And let us know what you think in the comments below. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Guys, thank you so much for watching our video. We certainly appreciate it. If you like our channel, you want to support us, just go ahead and like and subscribe. Hit that notification. It really helps a lot. Leave some comments down below. What's your favorite Kobe memory?
Yes.
What do you guys think about where he is on the Mount Everest? It's less important to me, other than just your Kobe memory and stuff like that.